Good evening, everyone, or good morning, depending on where you're watching. This is Oscar, your host, and tonight we're going to be watching the Paris 2024 Inshore Cup Challenge 2 final, witnessing the top 12 available players from the Challenge 2, which was raced about 10 days ago in the ILCA. And tonight we're going to be watching 7 races back-to-back with the same fleet of the 12 players that you see on your screen at the moment. One of the first 6 races is discardable, and every race counts. No battle race apart from that, and no other discard apart from that one discard after race 6. Race is starting now, and let's see how it goes. So 10 days ago or so, the first Challenge 1 final happened, and we already had the two qualified, 2 Brazilians, Harder and Jose Coty, who qualified, so the first 2 to join the grand final, and we'll see who of these 12 players will be the next 2 to join them in the grand final. And Nikush86 in the chat saying hi to you too. Hope you're well. And 45 seconds to start. So for the grand final, as I was saying, 2 of each challenge final will be joining, and the top 2 male players and the top 2 female players will be joining as well. And we'll know them the day before the grand final. So we have the next challenge final, with the next challenge starting on the 5th of September. Then the challenge 4 finals happening on September, I think it's 13th, and then the grand final happening on September 14th. Before that, we have the semi-final of the eSailing World Championship happening the 7th and 8th, and 10 seconds till those starts. Boats are lining up. And there we have it. So we had one player who could not attend, who was in the top 12, which is Acer, who has been replaced by Pablo Baez, the Spanish player. So we're gonna recognize some of the names from the previous final. We saw AIM the previous final. We saw FC Rich as well in the previous final, who was battling against the 2 Brazilians for the first place, for the first two spots. So hopefully he can make it this time. As of now, it looks like Kazuki is taking the lead. Right next to Trap Breast Power, the French sailor. If I'm going over the names of the other players, so FSC Kazuki, one of the regulars in these type of events, unfortunately could not attend the previous final, even though he was in the top 12 at that point, but could attend today. So he's going to make it worth it, hopefully, for him to qualify. As a reminder, so it's currently 5 a.m. Well, 6 past 5 a.m. in Japan at the moment, so quite early for them. Breast Power, we've seen on him also in several finals. The French player Ame, as I said, is one of the players who was here in the previous one. Lorenzo, so 42 with the smiley face. The winner of the One Provence challenge did not make it in the top 12 of the previous challenge, but is going to try to prove himself this time. And like previously, we actually have a strong Japanese presence in this final, despite being at 5 a.m. for them, with 4 out of the 12 being Japanese, so the most represented nation in this final. And looks like Kazuki is going to be the one to reach the mark zone first and rounding this mark, and it's then going to be tight between Ame and FC Rich. FC Rich might be able to sneak just in front of Ame, avoiding barely the mark over here. And we'll see how they battle for the downwind. The downwind is usually the most, how would you say this, the most aggressive part in the ILCA. which has a very effective wind shadow. Wind shadow being the zone blocked by your wind, so you're slowing down the other players if you're in someone else's wind shadow. But looks like they decided to split. And Kazuki out of everyone's wind shadow, so it looks like Kazuki is going to be set for this downwind. And it's going to be between FC Rich, Ame, and Breast Power for the rest. For those of you watching us, I'd be interested in knowing who's your favorite and who's your underdog in this final, judging by the names that you see on your screen. I think the favorite for me is going to be FC Rich, who did a hell of a job last final. He's going to want his revenge this time as well. And the underdog is hard to choose because all of these players are very good, so it's hard to choose who would be the least inclined to win. And Milena Sailing showing her support for her teammate Shiloh Finn. And well, Kazuki still in the lead, Ame, Breast Power, and FC Rich still on the second line, followed by the Italian Lorenzo 42, Donnie, Maradoni, and Yuko. And so in terms of format, so as I said, there's going to be 7 races, including a discard after race 6. And in terms of the classes that we'll see, it's going to be a rotation of the ILCA, 49er, and Nacra 17 twice. And then the last race being in the ILCA again to favor those who qualified well via the ILCA. Ongoing on the game at the moment is the Challenge 3, which started today at 2 p.m. UTC. And is going to be the rotation of the 3 Olympic classes as well. So it's going to be 1 day of ILCA, 1 day of 49er, and then 1 day of Nacra 17. And like for the first 2, the top 12, not yet qualified, will get a place for the final. And looks like Kazuki did a great run, a great leg over here, being the first to round the first mark again, and likely far ahead enough to avoid being in any tricky situation regarding the wind shadows. Ame and FC Rich are following him behind. They're maybe going to battle, maybe going to decide each of them to go on their separate sides. We'll see. Ame is deciding to go straight down. And he looks like he is safe from FC Rich wind shadow. FC Rich, however, is going to be chased down by Lorenzo. So it does look like, well, Kazuki is going to be the first one. There's no surprise, I think, over here. After watching this race, and Ame is going to be second. FC Rich is going to be third, and Lorenzo is probably going to be third. And what is happening behind? So we have Searching closing the march, who was also here in the previous final, who did well, but did not manage to impose himself against his Brazilian teammates. And as the race finishes, you will have to let me just 2 minutes to enter the scores, and we'll be going on to race number 2 in the 49er. So, final ranking for race 1 is going to be Kazuki in first place, Ame in second place, FC Rich in third, Lorenzo 42 with the smiley face is in fourth, Breast Power in fifth, Yuko in sixth, Ilya Polichuk, I'm hoping I'm not butchering his name, sorry if I am. I'm gonna call him Ilya to avoid any confusion, is 7th, Maradoni is 8th, Shadowf in 9th, Ivario 10th, Pablo Baez 11th, and Searching is 12th. So I'm gonna mute up again, and I'll be back in just a second. Okay, and I'm back. Sorry about that. What happened during my time off? Looks like Donnie is the one who takes the lead, followed by Ilya over here and Lorenzo, 42 in third place. So this is a good run for Ame and 42, who were second and fourth during the first race. It's going to be tricky for FC Rich, who was third, sorry, in the first race, and Kazuki, who was currently first in the first race, is actually pretty decent still for him. Looks like I cursed FC Rich, as always. Well, yeah, I guess I'm going to be cursing Ilya and Donnie right now. For the first two, Ilya is going to be the first one to reach the mark, followed closely by Donnie. It's gonna be close between these two over here. Meanwhile, Breast Power is in third. He was in a decent place on the first round, fifth overall. But again, it's only 12 players, so I guess your best chances are if you finish in the top 4 every race, which is not an easy thing to do for sure, even though you have a discard after race 6. So if you do mess up one race, it can be voided. But it does look like Searching did trap Breast Power nice in his wind shadow, then decided to jibe away. He was going faster. It looks like Searching might have taken third place from Breast Power. As Donnie is it's going to be very close between Ilya and Donnie. Breast Power does finish. Oh, it's going to be very close between a lot of them. It's going to be very close between a lot of them. Let's go over the results. So, Ilya is the first one to cross the finish line. Right before Donnie. Breast Power and Searching are number 3 and 4. It was very close between these two as well. Kazuki, Lorenzo, and Ame are then in the next positions, and as before, I'm gonna have to ask you to give me just a couple of minutes to update the scores, launch the third race, sorry, and I'll be back in a second. Okay, well, overall ranking after race number 2, it's gonna be Kazuki and Breast Power, the top 2 players. Kazuki first in race 1, 5th in race 2, and Breast Power 5th in race 1 and 3rd in race 2. Breast Power tied with Ilya at 8 points. Ilya arriving first in race number 2 did give him a great boost. Ahmed jumped down to 4th with 9 points, 2 points in race 1 and 7 points in race 2. And then Lorenzo, 42, dropped down to 5th, tied with Donnie at 10 points, arriving 4th and 6th in race 1 and 2, respectively. Race next up is the Nacra 17. It's going to be a fast race. And it's not going to be a chill race in any way, because the Nacra 17 is a very maneuverable boat. And the slightest input, it makes the boat turn. So it is 28 with all the players in. We're actually missing one player who just got back, so we're going to wait for them to be in control of their boat. And looks like everyone is in control, so the race will start. 80 seconds. Nacra 17, so it's a foiling boat, a very fast boat. Doesn't go upwind very well. It's 55 degrees on the upwind. We're gonna have to compare it to the downwind. I don't remember the value by heart. So it doesn't go upwind as well as the 49er. The wind shadow isn't as effective as the ILCA, but it is very fast, so the slightest penalty or the slightest mistake can cost you a lot. We'll see how these players fare up in the Nacra 17. So we did have FC Rich, Ame, Searching, who were all in the previous final, who did manage to practice 3 times in the previous final in the Nacra 17. So they might have an advantage over here above the others. But we'll see how it goes. So far, Kazuki is in the lead in the overall ranking, and Breast Power is second. So these will the two. If they manage to keep their position, these are the 2 players that will qualify to the grand final. I seeing one player deciding to go from the pin end. He has to be careful because if he does do a port start, it might count him as a penalty start, as a penalty system is active. And looks like ILCA is taking the lead. All of the boats deciding to go on port tack, trying to get this wind pressure that you see on at the top right of your screen. Though you do also see a corridor of darker winds on the left-hand side. The way to know that is just by looking at the color of the water. The darker the water, the more wind pressure there is, and usually that means that you go faster. So with this tack, looks like Shadowfin is the one who has taken the lead with Lorenzo and FC Rich. You can see in the example over here with FC Rich and Searching right next to him, they would from time to time luff up, and that's trying to gain meters in the upwind. Since the Nacra 17 is fairly fast, you can try to move up a bit like this without losing too much speed. It is one of the only boats that you can do this with. If you try to do this with the ILCA, for example, you're going to be slowed down quite a lot. And we'll see whose strategy paid the most. So we have a group who went on the right and a group who went on the left. Looks like those on the left are in more wind, so they might be going faster. If they're not being blocked by any other wind shadow, and they are going slightly faster. More like half a knot faster at some points. But FC Rich is going to be the first one to reach the mark, so I am not cursing him entirely. Although the race isn't finished. And so Searching in close second decides to go on the same tack as him, while the others like ILCA, like Ame, are deciding to go on the port, or on the left over here. Wind coming from port side. Will that be enough to catch FC Rich and Searching? We will see when they arrive at the gate, though I think FC Rich and Searching took the good decision of staying on this route. As now ILCA might be in Ame's wind shadow. Yes, you can see it here, slowed down by almost a knot. While FC Rich and Searching both around the mark, both decide to go in different directions, I believe. Searching decided not to tack straight away. And we do see this this gust of wind on the left hand side and coming from the right. You can see that with the wind shadows. So they're going to be wanting to catch this, which is why all of them are going in the direction that they're going and are going to be tacking very soon, if not already. According to the ranking, it is Lorenzo in the lead. Lorenzo is in the middle of the course over here. But FC Rich is above the ley line, so unless there is a drastic shift, he should maintain his lead with searching. Searching, as you can see, is trying to get a bit more room above the ley line, careful not to go too much into the upwind, not to be slowed down too much. But looks like with smooth sailing for FC Rich onto the last downwind over here, while searching is rounding the mark behind him. And Ame almost 100 meters behind, closely followed by Lorenzo. And looks like ILCA did drop down with a penalty over here to number 8, chased by Yuko and Evario. And it looks like Yuko was a bit too not careful enough with this mark rounding and touched the mark and got penalized for that. And we're going to see FC Rich arriving first in this race. Searching is going to be second. Ame is going to be third. Lorenzo is going to be fourth. Kazuki fifth. Pablo Baez sixth. Press Power seventh. And the rest of the fleet continues over here. Let's have a look at this final ranking. So FC Rich is indeed first, searching second, Ame third, Lorenzo 42 fourth, Kazuki fifth, Pablo Baez sixth, seventh is Breast Power, eighth is Evario, ninth is ILCA, 10th is Shiloh Finn, 11 is Yuko, and 12 is Maradani. And there we have the scoreboard. So Kazuki is still in first place with 11 points, and then it's going to be Ame and FC Rich tied in second place with 12 points. Nice climb up from Ame and FC Rich. Lorenzo sticking into his fourth position with 14 points, 4 and 6 and fourth again. And so these are the most likely to stay into the top two. Race number 4 is going to be the ILCA again. So according to what happened previously, it's going to be exactly in this order. It's going to be Kazuki, Ame, FC Rich, and Lorenzo in 1, 2, 3, and 4. And 1 minute 10 until the start. With the ILCA again, so not sure, probably you already said it in the first race. Olympic class boat doesn't go very fast in the upwind, but can go quite fast in the downwind. Has a good wind shadow to slow down your opponent. This is where most of the tactic is going to be happening. A very maneuverable boat. And so far this final, the favorite would be Kazuki and Ame for the ILCA. Both first and second in the overall ranking, but also first and second in the first race in ILCA. Ten seconds to start. Again, another boat choosing to start on port tack from the pin end. We'll see in a second who it is. RG Tyler saying it's Donnie. It does look like a Donnie thing to do, if that means anything. But no, it wasn't. I think it was Pablo, right? We took a penalty. Well, most of the boats deciding to stay on port tack over here go into the wind pressure that is about to come. 2 of them staying on starboard tack, but they're going to be behind the boats in their wind shadow, so they're likely going to be slowed down. They're going to have to wait for the downwind to be able to slow down their opponents and catch up to them. And Clem BFC is showing his support for the French Breast Power. who is 5th overall, currently at 15 points, so not too far behind the number 2. There's 3 points. Knowing that there is a discard again, so your worst performance is after race 6 is going to be discarded. So ignore in the overall score. And he's gonna have to let FC Rich pass over here. Searching decided to go all the way to the ley line. The ley line is the dotted line that you see, which is the most direct path to the mark with the wind at the mark. And let's go see what is happening on the other side over here as Lorenzo decides to tack on support. He's gonna cross path with Shadlofin and FC Rich to have to steer away slightly to stay beneath them. As you know, starboard has the right of way over port, meaning that if the wind comes from your right hand side of the boat, you have the priority over those who have the wind coming in from the left hand side of the boat. And we'll see if this strategy pays off. He's going all the way up to the ley line and is going to tack just over it, hoping to reach the mark in this last tack. Other boats are coming in. They're going to have to tack underneath him or pass below. And it's going to be a very tricky situation for all of these boats. There is a very tight fleet over here. Penalty for, who was it? Kazuki. Penalty for, there was another boat who got a penalty. Maybe Scheidlo. And Searching manages to benefit from all of this and round onto the second, well, the first downwind, the second leg first. Is he going to be slowed down? Looks like we have a battle on the left over here between ILCA, FC Rich, and the rest. And the whole fleet deciding to leave Searching alone. You can see that over here on your screen. Searching is the boat at the bottom of your screen. Alone in front of this whole line of wind shadows following him. So those on the left over here, when they jibe, are going to be in a powerful position because they will have the priority. And I am going to predict a couple of penalties at the gate over here. More than a couple, that was 5 penalties at the gates of boats touching each other while rounding the mark, so rule 18. Meanwhile, Searching is living happily at the front of the fleet over here. Just needs to maintain his position, keep taking the correct choices, correct strategy, and he should be fine. For second place, though, it's going to be tricky because all the boats are bunched up together. And we have two strategies. We have those who decided to go on the right over here and those who decided to go on the left. The left does look a bit darker. Though not enough, apparently, to make a big difference. Well, actually, it's just like 0.1 knots faster. And Pablo attacking over Kazuki over here to put him in his wind shadow, slow him down. Meanwhile, up there, it is Searching who managed to, who went again all the way to the ley line, tacked onto the ley line, is going to hope to reach the mark in a single tack to avoid the double tack. but looks like it's going to be tricky for him. He might need to double tack. Because unlike the Nacra, you can't really steer upwind slightly to kind of climb up and upwind. But no worries though, he still has almost a 40-meter lead. He's going to be well clear of the wind shadows following him. It's going to be tight between Lorenzo and FC Rich. Lorenzo deciding to let FC Rich pass in front of him over here. As a reminder, at the currently the two leaders in the overall ranking is Ame and Kazuki. Both of them in the last 4 positions. And we'll see if there's going to be any changes between the top 4 over here. Searching is going to be the first one. I don't think there's any questions or doubt in there. But maybe Scheidlo-Finn, Lorenzo, or FC Rich can shuffle a bit. Looks unlikely. Looks like FC Rich is going to cross the line in 2nd place, Lorenzo in 3rd, and Scheidlo-Finn in 4th. Meanwhile, at the back, looks like Kazuki and Ame have had a tough race. That is probably going to put them, well, it's probably going to make them lose their 1st and 2nd place. We'll see how the overall ranking shifts after this race. Ranking to be confirmed in just a second. So, searching 1st, FC Rich, 2nd, Lorenz 42, 3rd, Scheidlo-Finn 4th, Trap Breast Power is 5th, Funyuko is 6th. Pablo Baez is 7th, Mardani is 8th, Avario is 9th, Kazuki is 10th, Ilya is 11th, and Ame is 12th. And here is the overall ranking after race number 4, and thank you Arthur Ham, for the follow. So FC Rich and Lorenzo 42 taking 1st and 2nd place. Searching in 3rd with 19 points, and Breast Power climbing up to 4th with 20 points. On to race number 5 in the 49er again. So according to this, Ilya and Donnie had a good performance in the 49er previously in this final. We'll see if they can repeat that. And we'll be joining the fleet in just a second. The points are still quite close in the top 6. 10 points difference between 1st and 6th. And as I mentioned before, there is 1 discard after race number 6, so it's going to shuffle again. I'm going to show you the overall ranking again as the start procedure is happening. 14 points for FC Rich, 17 points for 42, 19 for Searching, and 20 for Breast Power. So Breast Power is still 6 points behind the 1st, 3 points behind the 2nd. You need to be in the top 2 to qualify for the grand final. Only 2 of the 12. We'll continue on into the next stage of the competition, although we still have 2 challenges. So the one happening at the moment, challenge number 3, which is going to be a rotation of the ILCA 49er and Nacra 17, and then the last challenge, challenge 4, starting on September 5th, so in 10 days, who is going to be in only the 49er. So as before, 49er is a pretty fast boat. Most of their strategy is going to be going into the upwind. The wind shadow is fairly small, so not as effective as the ILCA to slow down your opponents. Although if you do manage to get close, it is still a possibility. 5 seconds till start. And it's a go with 2 false start from Kazuki and Scheidlofin. And Ilya takes the lead at the start with breast power. Ilya did arrive first in the first race of 49er, so we could say that it is one of his favorite boats. And well, we see also Ame at the top of the ranking, who finished second in the first race of 49er. And looks like Ame is alone on this right-hand side over here. The rest of the fleet decided to stay on the left. And attacks on to breast power over here before tacking up again. And Donnie might be in a good position as well. The shift is favoring him a bit right now. Close to the ley line, he'll just have to do one more tack when he arrives close to the mark, and is likely going to reach it first. And Ilya, FC Rich, and all of them are Espoir and Ame are not far behind Evario either. So Donnie is the first one to round the mark. He did finish second in the first race of 49er. So one of the boats he is better in compared to his to the other players. And Evario is close second, followed closely by Ilya, FC Rich, Lorenzo 42. And all going in a straight line following the same path. And Evario is going to need this race because so far he arrived 10th, 11th, 8th, and 9th. So some pretty low in the ranking the last quarter every time. So arriving in the first 4 is going to be good for him. Currently at 38 points overall. FC Rich, meanwhile, our current leader in the overall ranking is 3rd. He has 14 points overall. And his streak so far was 3rd, 8th, 1st, 2nd, and well, if he maintains this position, he might finish 3rd or 2nd again this race. And depending on how he does in race number 6, he is, well, his 8th position might be the one that is voided, and so boosting him up in the rankings. Donnie's still first, still ahead of the rest of the fleet. Ilya in 3rd position, right next to Ame over here. They've reached the darker zones first and are currently going slightly faster than the rest of the fleet. If we switch back to Donnie over here, 11.4 knots, closing in onto the ley line. He's going to wait to pass over the ley line before tacking again and reaching the mark in a single tack. And he'll be good to go. FC Rich is in a good position as well. So is Evario. So is Ame. Ilya did apparently move a bit down in the ranking, though stays ahead of Ame, stays in the top 4. and it might be a tight finish again with these with this pack that we're currently watching. And Shadowfin takes a penalty. The 18 looks like he touched one of the boats who had priority over him. Donnie is still ahead over there. Looks like he is going to be safe from the other boats, so not too much worries for him. The battle might be between for second place over here between Avario and FC Rich. With Ilya and 42 behind them putting on some wind shadow, so they're going to slow them down a bit. It's going to be a tight finish for them. But FC Rich is looking like the one who's going to cross the finish line first. Avario second, and then it's going to be Ilya and Lorenzo who took a penalty from Ilya as the rest of the fleet comes in right now. Final ranking then. Donnie first, he performed well in the first 49er race, he performed well in the second one as well, which is good for him. Second is going to be FC Rich, third Avario, fourth Ilya, fifth Lorenzo, sixth Ame, seventh Pablo, eighth Breast Power, ninth Shidlo, 10th Searching, 11th Kazuki, and I have Yuko as a DSQ. We will have to check that in the background, but the provisional results are these. No results until we double check with that Yuko disconnection. Is FC Rich taking first place, while keeping his first place 16 points. Lorenzo keeping his second place with 22 points. Breast Power taking the third place from Searching with 28 points, slowly climbing up. And we'll be starting race number 6 very soon. So after the end of this race, we'll be applying the discard to the worst performance of every player. Looks like everyone is in and in control of their boats, so the race is going to start. And let's show the scoreboard again just so we can have a look. So the overall scoreboard. So 16 points for the first, so that's 6 points ahead of second place, so FC Rich in a comfortable position right now. There is still 2 races left, including a discard after race number 6, so if FC Rich continues on his streak of great races, of arriving between first and third, then it's going to be his 8th place in race number 2 that's going to be discarded, which is going to be removing quite a lot of points compared to the others. 42 is in second, so 22 points, 6 points behind. There is a bit of a gap therefore, and then again a bit of a gap between 42 and Breast Power with 28 points, so another 6 points difference in third place, and just 1 point ahead of Searching in fourth place with 29 points. So let's try not to jinx it for FC Rich, but it does look like he is in a good spot to finish in the top 2 for this final 5 seconds to start. And it's a go. Watch out for the port start over here in Breast Power, who is taking a penalty start as well. He took a penalty in the initial seconds, took a second penalty during his first penalty, and then decided to cross the start line in port tack. According to the engine, this is a penalty start, so an additional 10 seconds slowdown after your initial penalty has finished. It is not over. Anything can happen in the Nacra 17. It's a very fast boat, so the slightest mistake from his opponents or the slightest good decision from him can really make him climb the rankings. Although breast power and searching are going to have to do quite a great performance to stay in, to get into the top 2, since there is 6 points difference between 42 and breast power. 42 being in second position. I think FC Rich is more or less safe. Touching wood for him. Hopefully I don't jinx it. Meanwhile, Pablo Baez takes the lead in this in the race ranking so far. And as I say that, he is dropping down as the other boats decided to tack into a possibly more favorable side. And just like that, Kazuki is first. Kazuki in the overall ranking has 32 points and is in 7th. Again, so there's a discard at the end of this race, so without this race, the worst performance from Kazuki is arriving 11th in the previous race, so that's gonna knock off a few points for him. And is followed by Ame. Ame's in 5th position overall with 30 points, so just behind Searching and Breast Power. It's gonna be tough for them to be in the top 2, but we'll see how the discard shuffles the rankings. My prediction so far is that it's just gonna increase the lead that FC Rich has on the others, and second place is up for grabs still, with 42 being slightly favored still. But I'm chasing down Kazuki over here. And Kazuki deciding to continue on to starboard tack a bit more before tacking onto port. Ama decided to round the mark completely. And we're following Lorenzo here in 3rd position, having to go just under. That was Scheidlofin. So Lorenzo is in the top 2. So if he continues to be in the top 2, he will be qualified to the grand final, happening on the 14th of September. Apparently did a maneuver that could have hindered a bit FC Rich and Pablo Baez. Although FC Rich doesn't seem that much affected by it, currently in 3rd position according to the race ranking on the left. And it's going to be Kazuki and Ame to round the top mark first again in this second upwind onto the first downwind. FC Rich still in the top 3, so if he finishes the race like this, the only race in which he hasn't finished in the top 3 would have been race 2, which is going to be very advantageous for him when the discard is applied. Pablo Baez looks like he struggled a bit in this race. Currently in 12th. Let's see what's happening in the middle of the fleet with Vario just above Ilya. And what is happening over here between Kazuki and Ame? Ame is going to be the first one to cross the finish line. Kazuki 2nd, FC Rich 3rd, Scheidlofin 4th, 42 5th. And we'll confirm all of these positions with the in-race ranking at the end. And well, the discard is going to be applied at the end of this race. We'll see how all of that changes standings. So at the end of race 6, Ame is first, Kazuki is second, FC Rich is third, Scheidlefin is fourth, 42 is fifth, Donnie is sixth, Ilya is seventh, Evario eighth, Searching is ninth, Yuko is 10th, 11th is Press Power, and Pablo Baez is 12th. And the final ranking, the ranking after race 6, so discard applied. Well, we said it with FC Rich, his worst performance being an 8th place, and all of his other races finishing in the top 3. He is with just 11 points after 6 races. That is 8 points ahead of Ame. Ame took second place from 42 with 19 points. With the discards, just 2 points ahead, however, of Lorenzo. So 42 is going to have to perform well and be ahead enough of the rest of the fleet. Kazuki, 23 points in 4th position, is not far behind. Lorenzo is only 4 points behind Ame. Again, this is still possible. FC Rich is not entirely safe. He will still need to confirm his current standing. So no double points, it's a single point race. The only difference is that discard for after race number 6. So whatever they score in this race is the points that will be added onto their overall score. FC Rich needs to stay in the top 8 to maintain his first position. And Ame needs to be 3 places ahead of Lorenzo to keep his second position. "30 seconds to start." Looks like that one of them is trying to do a pin and start, one of the Japanese boats. Which one? Cannot say for now. And Donnie is looking like he will take a pin and start as well. And Barracuda thinking that Pablo Baez is going to be winning this one. Well, I'm waiting for a strong performance, like a statement from Pablo. This maybe wasn't his best final that I've seen in race, arriving 11th in the first ILCA race and arriving 7th in the second ILCA race. In 4th position over here, so in the middle of the fleet. We'll see what he decides to do in terms of strategy. FC Rich currently is under a penalty, but in the top 8, so that is good for him. And if you compare Ame and 42, well, they're neck and neck over here. So if 42 wins and Ame arrives second, then Ame will keep his second place, and only win support, showing their support for Ame. And I was going to compare the players that we see here to those in the semifinal, but I don't remember all 72 players qualified in the semifinal. But I do believe that for sure Ame is qualified, Lorenzo is qualified, Kazuki is qualified, FC Rich is qualified, Searching is qualified. I think Donnie might be qualified as well. Not sure about Pablo Baez or Evario. Breast Power. We'll see. At the top over here, Pablo Baez between Trap, Breast Power, and Kazuki over here, above the ley line going straight into the mark. He's going to be slowed down by Kazuki's wind shadow. You can see Kazuki going 0.9 knots faster than him. I'm in about kill my friend. Not sure what that means, but I'm assuming that means that you're supporting your friend Ame. Kazuki, first one to round the mark. Scheidlofen in second place. Breast Power third. Pablo Baez in fourth. Looks like a good race from Pablo Baez so far. Thank you, Warakuda. I'll try to keep it up there. But let me know if you want to switch view. Well, let's go check our friend Pablo Baez over here. He is not in a very comfortable position. There's boats all around him, so he's likely going to be slowed down a bit by some wind shadows, although he is going slightly faster than, 0.1 knots faster than Ame. Vario slowly jibing onto him. And between Kazuki and Scheidlofen at the top. Scheidlofen has put Kazuki in his wind shadow, so managed to gain some meters on him. Looks like Kazuki is going to take the left mark and Scheidlofen the right. It seemed pretty flat, so not necessarily any big advantage taking one mark over the other. It's going to be depending on the shifts. And well, both deciding to stay onto port, and I think it is Breast Power. We decide to continue a bit longer onto starboard before tacking onto port. Meanwhile, let's look at our head of rankings. Lorenzo, haven't seen what happened to him, but dropped down to 12th. And Ame stayed in the top 4, so that's going to be tough for Lorenzo if he wants to aim into the top 2. FC Rich is in 10th position, so if he wanted to be completely safe, he needed to be in 8th. But he is less than 8 places behind Ame, so he should maintain his first place. And Kazuki is making a great performance over here. And Scheidlofen as well. Scheidlofen was quite discreet this final. Arriving 9th in almost every race but 2 where he arrived 4th. And looks like Lorenzo 42 managed to climb up a bit. No, climb up 2 places. Ame is struggling to keep his 4th place. Dropped down to 6, but is managing to get back to 5. Everything is going to play out in this last downwind. FC Rich between 8th and 9th. Rounding the mark just in front of, I think that's searching, yes. And so, Kazuki looks like he is alone at the front over here. Breast Power is going to try to push Scheidlofen further onto the side, maybe take the 2nd place into in this race. But don't forget, Pablo Baez currently alone in the middle of the course. Might be able to get in front of both Scheidlofen and Breast Power as the ranking on the left suggested. making it a strong finish for him. And that is going to be a very close finish, but Breast Power is going to be first, Shiloh Finn's third, Pablo Baez fourth, Ame fifth. Donnie sixth, Vario seventh, FC Rich eighth, Searching ninth. Ilya, depending on the penalty, Lorenzo, so 42 did manage to sneak in just in front of him, and Yuko the one closing the march. Final standings for race number 5. We'll see how this updates the overall ranking. Kazuki is first in this race. Breast Power is second. Shiloh Finn third. Pablo Baez fourth. Ame fifth. Donnie Maradoni sixth. Vario seventh. FC Rich eighth. Searching ninth. 42 10th. Ilya 11th. And Un Yuko 12th. It is FC Rich maintaining his first position with 19 points, and Kazuki arriving second in front of Ame 42, Breast Power, and Donnie with 24 points. So he is tied with Ame, but why is he first? It's because he has more first places than Ame. He arrived twice in second place, where Ame only arrived once. So the advantage go to Kazuki. And these are the two players that will be qualified for the grand final. Congratulations to them. So in the first finals, we had two Brazilians with a tough battle against FC Rich was one of them. And I think Searching was the fourth. And in this final, we have two Japanese, FC Rich and FSC Kazuki, qualifying for the grand final. Yep, no double points. Indeed, Nikush, it is FC Rich and Kazuki. We can all say congratulations to these two players and to, well, the rest of them as well. Unfortunately, they did not qualify for the grand final this round. But there is still two challenges left. One currently ongoing, the next one in 10 days, starting on the 5th of September. And plus that, we will be using the top two male players from the overall ranking and the top two female players from the overall ranking. We'll be joining them in the grand final. But yeah, this is the final standings. FC Rich, 19 points, first place. FSC Kazuki in second place with 24 points, tied with Ame in third place, 24 points as well. Breast Power in 30 points in fourth. Donnie fifth with 31 points, tied with 42 in sixth. Searching 7 with 35 points, Shiloh Finn in 8th with 38 points, Ilya in 9th with 39 points, Vario 10th with 45 points, Pablo Baez 11th with 45 points, and Fanyuko 12th with 57 points. Special shout out to the Japanese who were racing at 5 a.m. For them tonight. And yep, well, I guess all that's left for me to do is congratulations to all of these players. Special congratulations to FC Rich and Kazuki qualifying for the grand final. Thank you all for watching and joining me tonight to watch these races. And well, this was Oscar, your host, and I'll see you in the next one.